Thank you for tuning in. Fab4 Expression presents the Unapologetically Reborn podcast featuring Alicia Lynch and Cody Feline. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional mental health care. Listener discretion is advised. A free workbook that collaborates with this episode can be found on our website www.unapologeticallyreborn.com.
Take three.
Hi, and welcome to Unapologetically Reborn. I'm Alicia Lynch.
Yeah, I'm the blue-eyed guy, Cody. What's up?
Have you ever had a reaction that felt bigger than the moment?
Sometimes.
Yeah, me too. Like something small happened, but your emotions and your thoughts went somewhere else entirely?
Yep.
What if I told you that reaction might not just be about the present at all?
Yeah, but I only hear it when people complain.
I feel like that's common. All right, well, today's topic, we're talking about triggers and projection. How your past can quietly take the wheel in your present relationships, and how healing begins when you finally recognize the difference. So let's define an emotional trigger. Do you know what an emotional trigger means?
Nope.
No?
Let's learn.
All right. An emotional trigger is anything that includes memories, experiences, or events that spark an intense emotional reaction regardless of your current mood. Yeah. So emotional triggers are often associated with PTSD, but you obviously don't have to have PTSD to have one. Knowing what your emotional triggers are and how to handle them are vitally important when you're dealing with your emotions and your emotional regulation. Just some easy stuff, some physical signs that you could be triggered could include pounding heart, upset stomach, shakiness, dizziness, sweaty palms. Triggers can cause overreaction, shutdown, emotional withdrawal, people-pleasing, defensiveness, anxiety spikes.
Man, I have, 2, 3 of those symptoms.
Really?
Yeah.
I think we all do from time to time.
The shakiness now. Anxiety, sure. The pounding headache, if that counts.
I feel like I get hot. I feel like a hot sensation.
Yeah, I get that sweaty palm feeling.
Yeah.
Then I get a headache, so that's even better.
So some examples of emotional triggers could be rejection, betrayal, unjust treatment, challenged beliefs, helplessness or loss of control, being excluded or ignored, disapproval, criticism, feeling unwanted or unneeded, feeling smothered or too needed, insecurity, and a loss of independence. Most people think their reactions are caused by what just happened. They're not. Your reactions are caused by the meaning your brain assigned to what just happened. That meaning was built long before the moment. According to Dr. Gabor Mate, when trauma gets triggered, you don't act your age. You act the age that the wound was created. So with this being said, let's look at what happens to the brain when you get triggered.
So my wound started at the age of 34 then?
Well, it depends. It depends. I mean, something that happened to you when you were 8 and somebody hits a nerve, you might freak out and act like you're 8.
No, but this one only hit a nerve even though it was over the phone. You know exactly what trigger that is?
Yeah, that's possible. So the amygdala, your favorite word, these are small structures that are located in the brain's temporal lobes.
I know all about that one.
Their primary force assists in processing emotions. So fear is the main emotion that the amygdala is known to control. When the amygdala detects danger or a similar situation that was dangerous in the past, the amygdala takes over and tells the brain, get ready. This takes precedence over any other emotion. Therefore, if something happens and your brain detects danger, it can send you into a spiral of emotions that are sometimes not warranted for the event that occurred, leaving you defensive and confused. Chances of what happened at that moment reminded your brain of something that had previously taken place in your life. Your prefrontal cortex is your reasoning part of the brain. It's no longer in control. Therefore, you can become irrational because all your brain says is danger. For an example, someone may include someone doesn't text you back. This might feel like abandonment. Someone raises their voice, could feel like danger. Silence could feel like rejection. So bear with me because this is actually very interesting. It starts off maybe a little boring for you, but it's going to make sense. The real problem isn't your trigger. Triggers are not your problem at all. The problem is what happens after the trigger. Because the moment you feel something, your brain immediately asks, what does this mean? It doesn't answer based on logic. It answers based on your history. This is where you sound different than anyone else. Your brain is not trying to be accurate. It's trying to be efficient. And what's efficient? Patterns that it already knows. If your past taught you silence equals danger, distance equals rejection, emotion equals conflict, then your brain will continue to apply those meanings even when they're no longer true. Familiar doesn't just mean correct. It just means that it's practiced. So if you grew up in chaos, inconsistency, or emotional neglect, your nervous system learned to stay ready even when you're finally safe, making it easier to get triggered if you do not learn what your triggers are and you're not consciously, worked on your past traumas and emotions. It makes sense why this happens, because if you think about this for a minute, you probably trained yourself to read between the lines, to feel what wasn't said, to prepare for what might go wrong. So now even in calm environments, your body doesn't always trust it, and you can second guess yourself. This leads us to something called projection. This is bugging me, I'm sorry. We're off here. Projection. All right. This is something that we're going to discuss in more depth in our next episode. And this is why I want you to kind of understand it if you don't know much about it. We're going to talk about why some women are so competitive against other women.
There's so many jokes I can make, but I will not say them until the next episode. Then I will get complained at by whatever comment section.
Oh boy.
So.
Well, I'm excited about it. This is something that I've been curious about for as long as I can remember.
You're a woman. That's why. So all the male viewers, be prepared. Don't say the wrong thing or you're going to get the complaining part.
Nah, they could be interested too.
Yeah, if they want a date.
Oh, geez. Well, I'm excited to do a deep dive on the subject.
Or if they're married, they already hear it.
Oh, boy. Coming back to today's subject, projection, let's define the meaning. Projection is your inner world narrowing someone else's intentions. If deep down you feel like I'm not good enough, you might just assume they think I'm not good enough. If you carry fear of abandonment, you might interpret they're pulling away. If you feel unresolved guilt or shame, you might see judgment everywhere. The tricky part is projection feels real. Projection is when your internal feelings, fears, or beliefs get placed onto someone else. Not because you're trying to lie, not because you're trying to cause problems, but because your mind is trying to make sense on what you're feeling. Now let's look at how triggers and projection work together. This is where everything connects. This is the cycle most people don't even realize that they're in. The pattern. So something happens in the present. It activates a trigger from your past. Your brain tries to explain the feeling. It creates a story or a projection. You react based on that story. Let's put triggers and projection together. Someone you care about becomes quiet. The trigger, silence. Silence used to mean something was wrong. The emotion that you get, anxiety, unease, fear. The projection, they're mad at me. I did something wrong. They're pulling away. The reaction you might make, overthinking, shutting down, becoming defensive. But here's the truth. Nothing may actually be wrong. So the takeaway here is we don't just react to people. We react to what they represent. Triggers and projection don't just stay internal. They show up in how we communicate, connect, trust, respond. They can create conflict that wasn't there because misunderstandings push people away, keep you stuck in survival patterns. And one of the hardest parts, you can feel like you're doing everything right, but still end up with the same emotional loop. Because the issue isn't just behavior, it's unprocessed emotional memory. Most of the time, you're not reacting to the person in front of you. You're reacting to a younger version of yourself, an old wound, an unmet need, a moment that never got processed. And unfortunately, until that part of you is acknowledged, it will keep trying to be heard.
Man, my 20-year-old self, I guess, is trying to be heard.
Yeah, it's funny how that works, isn't it?
Or when I'm 20 or 19. Yeah, 20.
Yeah, keeps coming back to haunt you.
Yeah, even though after 15 years I try to bury that.
Well, by being on the show, you should be learning by now there's no such thing as burying anything.
Yeah, but was a certain memory I try to not think about. But even after all this time, that person's still my trigger. Huh? After 15 years.
I can understand that.
There was only one event. You know what it is. I know, so do I.
Yeah. But unfortunately, that person isn't going to receive that very well.
I know.
And I feel like that's unfortunately never going to be resolved. It's going to be up to you to take full control of that.
That's why I cut everything off.
All right, well, let's talk about the story. Not to cut you off.
It's fine.
I don't think you really want to discuss this here, do you?
Not really.
Okay. So, many people with backgrounds in trauma can probably relate to this. It was never about the text message, okay? This is a story that we're going to go over, and this probably might make sense. We're going to have two stories. It started with something small. It always does. She sent a message. Nothing heavy, nothing emotional, just a simple check-in, and then nothing. 10 minutes passed, then 20, then an hour. At first, she didn't think much of it, but then something shifted. Not in the situation, in her. Her body tightened. Her thoughts started filling the silence. This is weird. He usually calls faster than this. He usually texts faster than this. Did I say something wrong? The longer the silence lasted, the louder her mind became. Why would he just not respond? That's kind of rude. He's pulling away. Now her chest felt heavy. Her mood changed. What started as a quiet moment had turned into something charged, emotional, almost urgent. And without realizing it, she wasn't just waiting for a reply anymore. She was trying to make sense of what it meant. So she read the message again, then again, looking for something she might have missed, a tone, a word, a mistake. Because now the question wasn't, why hasn't he responded? It was, what did I do? That's when the story took over. People always do this. They start out interested, and then they fade. I knew this was going to happen. Her body didn't feel calm anymore. It felt familiar. Not because of him, but because of something much older. What she didn't see in that moment was that she had stopped reacting to the present and started reacting to the past. The silence wasn't just silence anymore. It became rejection, disconnection, proof. So she pulled back. Shorter responses, less warmth, a subtle shift in energy. Not because she wanted to, but because something in her was trying to protect her from what she believed was already happening. Hours later, he finally replied, "Hey, I'm sorry. I got caught up at work. Today was crazy." Simple, normal, uncomplicated. But by then, it didn't land the same because she wasn't in the same place anymore. He noticed the change. Everything okay? And now, something that had never existed between them suddenly did. Distance, confusion, tension. And here's the part no one talks about. She felt justified. Because the feeling was real. The anxiety was real. The fear was real. But what created those feelings wasn't what happened. It was what she made it mean. She wasn't just reacting to a delayed response. She was reacting to every moment she ever felt ignored, overlooked, or unsure of where she stood. The trigger was small, but the meaning that came from somewhere else. And the projection, that's what turned a quiet moment into a story about him. That was actually never him at all. It wasn't the text message. It was the meaning. And once the meaning changed, so did everything else. The girl in this scenario was not reacting to what happened. She was reacting to what she felt, what she assumed, and what it reminded her of. Does any of that make sense?
No.
I think a lot of marriages could be saved if they understood this. So, this might sound a little winded, but I want you to grasp this. And this is actually really fascinating. I know we live in a world where everybody's in a hurry and you got to hurry up and get a hook within 10 seconds or somebody's going to shut you off. But if you really truly want to get to the root of your triggers and things that you do that you want to change, you have to do the work. So here is an example of what the work means.
And if you're married, no offense, if your relationships are all good, whatever. If you're going through something, please just watch.
Yeah, I like that. That's great. True. All right, so here's another story. It was just a tone until it wasn't. It happened fast. They were in the kitchen, talking about something simple. Plans for the weekend. Nothing serious. And then it happened. A slight shift in tone. Not yelling, not harsh, just sharper than before. "Why would you do it that way?" That was it. One sentence. But something in her changed instantly. Her body went tight. Her stomach dropped. Her mind didn't stay in that kitchen. It went somewhere else. Why does he sound like that? Why is he talking to me like that? I didn't do anything wrong. Her thoughts started speeding up, and without even realizing it, she wasn't hearing his words anymore. She was hearing something underneath them. He's irritated. He thinks I did it wrong. I'm being criticized. And now the moment wasn't neutral anymore. It felt charged. Personal. Her voice changed. "What do you mean by that?" He looked confused. "What? I was just asking." But she was already somewhere else emotionally, because it didn't just feel like a question. It felt like a judgment. And now the story was building. Here we go again. Nothing I do is right. Why does this always happen? Her tone sharpened. His energy shifted. Now he was getting frustrated. "Why are you getting defensive? I didn't even say anything." And just like that, a moment that started as neutral turned into tension. What neither of them realized in that moment was this. They weren't arguing about what was said. They were reacting to what it meant to each of them. So for him, it was a question. For her, it felt like something she had experienced before, something familiar. Because the tone wasn't just a tone. It matched something stored deeper. Maybe a parent who corrected instead of guided. Maybe a household where mistakes were pointed out quickly. Maybe a history of feeling like she had to get things right to be okay. So her body didn't hear, "Why would you do it that way?" It heard, "You did it wrong. You should know better. You're being judged." And she reacted to that.
Yeah, no one likes to be judged.
Right? So here's the part that's easy to miss. Once she reacted, his energy changed. He got frustrated. His tone shifted more. And now it looked like her original feeling was right. But it didn't start there. It started with a trigger, then a meaning, then projection, then reaction, then confirmation. It wasn't just the tone, it was what the tone represented. And once meaning took over, the moment never had a chance to stay neutral. Now let's take a deeper look at what just occurred here. There was no single event that took place in this scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
Aside from the question, why would you do it that way? That's it. There was no insult, no accusation, no confirmed negativity. But here's the important piece. And you wonder why I love neuroscience so much. The brain doesn't just react to events, it reacts to perceived meaning. Do you know where the trigger came from in this scenario?
Her saying very jealous.
Her reaction didn't come from the words, it came from the tone and familiarity. Her brain instantly asked, where have I heard something like this before? And it found a match.
So pretty much it was the tone of his voice.
This wasn't consciously, but it was emotionally. She didn't think about the past. Her body recognized it. Before she had a clear thought, her body reacted. Tension, defensiveness, alertness. In return, these feelings are what created urgency. Her interpretation came from her brain needing to explain the feeling. So it assigned meaning. He's criticizing me. He thinks I did it wrong. This is where the moment changes. Because now it's no longer a question. It's a judgment. It's a judgment in her mind. More than likely, this tone triggered her. Her amygdala, your word, signaled danger. We've seen this before. Remember, the amygdala doesn't wait for proof. It reacts to familiarity. The amygdala is constantly scanning for tone changes, facial expressions, subtle shifts. It doesn't ask, is this logical? Because it doesn't care. Its job is to look for danger. And if this scenario was familiar, it could be constituted as a threat. That slight tone change equaled a pattern match to her past criticism. The amygdala is tightly connected to your hippocampus. This is where your emotional memory lives. So when the tone felt familiar, the brain pulled from stored experiences like being corrected harshly, feeling judged, needing to get it right. But here's the key. She didn't remember those moments. She felt them. Her emotional memory activated past criticism, being corrected harshly, feeling not good enough, needing to get things right to avoid tension. You're not always remembering the past. Sometimes you're refeeling it. Once the amygdala fires, it signals nervous system activation, tension, readiness to defend. This is often called amygdala hijack. It means that the thinking part of the brain gets temporarily bypassed. The thinking brain came in late. Okay, so the prefrontal cortex is responsible for logic, reasoning, perspective, but it comes back after emotional reaction. So instead of asking what's actually happened, it tries to explain the feeling. Why do I feel this way? That's where the interpretation and the projection begin. Your thinking brain doesn't start the reaction, it just tries to justify it. So now the projection filled in the gaps. Now the brain builds a story. He's judging me. I did something wrong. This is not the amygdala anymore. That's your brain trying to make sense of the alarm. They weren't just reacting emotionally. Your brain ran a full sequence. It detected something familiar. It activated an old emotional memory. Your body responded. Then your mind built a story to explain it. Now the deeper story starts forming. Nothing I do is right. This always happens. Notice something? That language is not about this moment. That's accumulated. Remember, when your reaction includes words like always or never, you're no longer in the present. Her reaction now, she responds, tone changes, defensiveness, questioning back from her perspective. Questioning. But from her perspective, it feels justified because the meaning feels real. Now this reaction, confusion, frustration, shift in tone, the situation actually becomes tense. Now her brain goes, see, I was right. But here's the truth. She wasn't reacting to what was really happening. She reacted in a way that helped create what happened next. So what really happened here? He said something. Her body recognized something familiar. Her brain assigned meaning. She reacted to that meaning. And the situation changed from there. What happened was not, he said something. She reacted. You didn't just read the moment, you participated in shaping it. So to sum it up, the loop looks like this. The neutral moment, then the trigger, which is the pattern recognition, the body reaction, the tension, whatever, happens in your body. Everyone's different. The story that was created by your brain, your reaction, the other person responds, and the original belief feels like it's confirmed. A projection. Healing doesn't mean that you'll never be triggered again. It means you'll start recognizing it sooner and responding differently. So here's what I personally use with triggers. I call it the R.E.A.C.T framework. Here's what it stands for. R, recognize the trigger. What happened? Just the facts, no story, no interpretation. An example, they didn't respond. Not they're ignoring me. E, emotional activation. What did you feel immediately? Body plus emotion. Fast, automatic, anxiety, tension, anger, shutdown. A, assigned a meaning. What did you decide this means? This is the turning point. They're mad at me. I'm being rejected. Something's wrong. C, created story, projection. What story did you build about them? They don't care. They're pulling away. They think I'm not enough. This is where the projection happens. T, test and choose response. If this is true or familiar, how do I want to respond to this? What do I actually know? What did I assume? Triggers start the reaction, but meaning and projection are what drive it. So a quick breakdown. Remember that you can find this on our website in case you forget. Go to the workbook download section on unapologeticallyreborn.com. You can download it for free. It has the same picture so that you can match it up with the same picture that's on the podcast. Triggers and projection.
We make it easy for you and you don't even have to pay extra.
So here's a quick breakdown. Okay, R. R is what happened. E. What did I feel? A. What did I decide it means? C. What story did I create? T. Is this true or familiar? R.E.A.C.T. As you were saying. Well, sorry. I didn't want to get too many things into one, story and then get all messed up. So as you were talking about earlier, go ahead. It's your turn.
About that story?
Yeah.
That's way too personal. I don't want to say it.
You don't want to discuss that? Well, you wanted to talk about something. What was it?
No, I've already explained that to you. I'm not going to say it over online and everything, even after this podcast.
Oh, I don't expect you to discuss that. I thought you were talking about something else.
No.
Oh, okay, I apologize then. All right, so how do we fix this? Step 1, pause before reacting. Ask, is this about now? Which is really, really hard because when you get triggered and you want to rip somebody's face off, I've been there.
Oh yeah, we all have.
Yeah, it's really, really hard to be rational. But try before you react to pause.
So think before you act.
Try really hard and think so you don't look like, I hate to say jackass, but I've done it.
We
feel
all
like
have.
a complete idiot.
We all have.
So before reacting, is this happening now, or is this something older? And this is why it's imperative to deal with, this is what I've learned. This is why it's imperative to deal with your emotional baggage from, like, for me, it was childhood stuff that I didn't allow myself to process or feel because I was tough. And, you know, that was, I think we've talked about this. That was my role. And in the family, it wasn't something that was invited. You know what I mean? You go through your shit, you move on, you're tough. We don't talk about it. Yay for us. But it comes back to get you, like we talked about earlier.
Yep.
It will come back to haunt you. So when you fix, well, maybe fix is a bad word, but when you work on processing things in your past, triggers aren't as difficult, because now when they happen, you can logically figure out, oh, wait a minute, this pissed me off and reminded me of something that happened when I was 12. So instead of jumping someone's ass and acting like I'm 12, I don't do that. I don't look like an idiot.
My trigger is a person. That's why I cut him out of my life.
Idiot's kind of a harsh word too, but yeah, well, sometimes you have to do that. That's a whole nother show.
That's my trigger.
I fully understand that. I fully respect that. Sometimes when people are toxic and they're not, this is completely off topic, but when they're not, when they don't serve any purpose in our life and they bring nothing but toxic behavior and, you know, make us feel bad about ourselves, then sometimes we have to make that choice. Especially when we try to talk to them and it's not received
it's like talking
well.
to the wall.
Right. I get it. So the steps, okay, pause. Step 2, separate your feeling from the story. The feeling, I feel anxious. What's the story? They're abandoning me. These are not the same thing. Separate those. Reality check, step 3. Ask yourself, what evidence do I have? Not what it feels like, what's actually happening. Regulate your body, step 4, because healing is not just mental, it's physical. Slow your breathing, ground yourself, remind your body that you're safe, you know, you don't feel threatened. Step 5, communicate instead of assume. Instead of reacting from fear, try, hey, I noticed I'm feeling a little off, can we talk? This creates connection instead of conflict. Most of the time, you're not reacting to the person in front of you. You're reacting to the younger version of yourself. Remember, an old wound, an unmet need, or a moment that never got processed. And again, until that part of you is acknowledged, it's going to try to be heard. Very important. Healing is not about becoming someone who never reacts. It's about becoming someone who understands their reactions, who pauses instead of spirals, who questions instead of assumes, who responds instead of repeats. So I hope this sheds a little bit of light on understanding triggers and projection. Try to remember, not to lecture, but try to remember most miscommunication doesn't come from what someone did. It comes from what the other person filled in about what they did. Got anything to add to this?
Nope.
No? All right, so next week we're going to look at why some women compete with other women. Nothing to add?
No, because I don't want the women viewers to get mad at me for saying the wrong thing. I might not be married, but I'm not stupid either.
I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, this is kind of a topic that I'm excited about, but at the same time, it is kind of a scary topic because, you know, when you talk about stuff like this, you're going to offend somebody somewhere. But just know that the heart of this conversation is not, it comes the meaning as well. It comes from understanding. It's trying to shed some light on why this is an issue in our society, because it's huge. It's not to be rude or to attack or to try to be judgmental or whatever. I could sit here because I have what's the word I'm looking for?
You're a woman, so you would know all about this.
Yeah, but my sense of humor, I love sarcasm. I think sarcasm is hilarious. So I mean, I could easily offend people, and I don't mean it that way. It's just I have a terrible sense of humor. I'm married to a truck driver, so I'm Italian. I'm married to a truck driver, and I'm very desensitized. I had 3 boys. I mean, so yeah, my sense of humor isn't always well received by other people.
Yes, you're violent, we know.
No. So anyways, hopefully this topic next week goes well and we can learn something from that. But I wanted to go over triggers and projection before we get into that topic to understand what we're talking about. Anyways, you don't have anything else to add?
Nope.
All right, well, we're going to sign off here, but thank you for tuning in to Unapologetically Reborn. This is where survival ends and choices begin.